Come on.
Hello and welcome back to the only podcast produced by three winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. You're tuned into the Check Engine Podcast. We're streaming live through Anchor.fm or anywhere else that streams really good podcasts with really good content that really cool people want to listen to. My name is Nick. With me, as always, my two fine co-hosts. I've got Tristan on my left. What's up, Tristan?
Oh, not much. Just wrapping up another week, another $1. I don't know.
As the popular saying goes.
Yeah, another week, I'm being wildly underpaid.
You need to rethink your situations here.
Yeah. No, just nothing too new. Just end of another work week. Indy coming up this weekend.
Yeah, Indy coming this week.
That's not current. That's future. So.
Right, Indy coming this weekend, and then a road trip the following week.
Heck
Andrew,
yeah.
how excited are you for that?
You know, I'm more excited than either of the two of you will give me credit for. We've announced this already, yeah?
I think so.
We're going back to Watkins Glen in 2 weeks as we're recording this. I think it's going to be great. I really do.
Yeah.
Because we have an actual abode.
Yeah,
we have roofs and walls.
There's a roof involved.
Yes.
That's already improvement. No matter what happens from there,
It's got to be better.
that base is covered, yeah.
So we'll get into that. But, more to come on that. But as you can tell, we're not professionals. We're just kind of winging it as we do this. But you're tuned in anyway, so we appreciate it. We don't just want you listening, though. We want to interact with you. Reach out to us. Let us know what you like, what you don't. What would you change? What episodes do you want to hear? What topics would you like us to discuss?
It works.
Yeah, it works. We've done it a few times.
Absolutely.
We don't have a whole lot of volume coming in yet, so we can accommodate everybody at this
That's
point.
right, yeah. Send in your craziest ideas, and they're almost guaranteed to get done.
Your ideas will not be ignored in the order in which they were received.
That's right.
So if you're like, well, that sounds like a really good idea. I'd like to get in touch with these guys. How would I do that? You can start at checkenginepodcast.com. We could edit that out.
But we won't.
It's really hard with the video. It's gonna stay in.
So you can start at checkenginepodcast.com. From there, there's an inbox at checkenginepodcast.com. That's the email address. Also, links to blogs, links to past episodes, all of the socials. There's a little About Us page where little mini bios on us if you care to know. Start at checkenginepodcast.com. What are we talking about?
Well, I mean, what aren't we talking about? I feel like we've had a month of podcasts where we've had like specific objectives, which is great, but so much other stuff has happened.
So many newses, so many events.
So much stuff that we haven't had a chance to talk about has actually stopped happening and then re-happened.
Again.
So it's like, all right, we just have to talk about a bunch of stuff, so we're just going to do a little open up here. I mean...
Well, plus it's a good opportunity now because next week we're going to be on the road. We don't know what we're going to get to as far as like an actual recording.
There will be content.
There will be content. I promise you that.
There might not be an episode.
Guarantee.
So, yeah, it's a good little check-in point here in terms of auto and motorsport news. So this whole episode's a pace lap. Do we really need to do pace laps? Let's just
I don't think so.
Let's just bounce into this.
Man,
what's first on the list?
I mean, there's been a ton of just race news recently, controversies and victories being stripped and all this stuff. So, I mean, maybe let's start with the big one, with the whale of races internationally, and start with the Le Mans winner having that sweet retro livery and then getting the win stripped, and then they were going to challenge, and then they didn't, and then, I mean, it's just...
The Wins car got the win taken away.
Yeah, so it was the Wins Ford GT.
It was the first ever race for a customer Ford GT.
Yes.
Also,
Oh.
this was a privately owned. They bought one of the cars from Ford Motor Company to run it in the AM class.
Wow.
So, and on the first time out, they engineer a brilliant strategy, get the win, and subsequently Monday morning rolls around and they found out, well, no, we didn't.
So
We in fact did not
they
win.
didn't. Yeah.
Although they may have known post-race. To be fair, one of the team officials was at the inspection.
Okay.
I don't think they announced it. They didn't know what the decision
Well,
would
at
be.
first there was like a 50-second time penalty that they were going to dispute, which because they won by like 44 seconds, so the 50-second time penalty put them to second.
That's
and
right. That's what happened. Yeah, I got that wrong. Yeah, you're right.
So there was the initial penalty, I think, was for the refueling time was too quick.
Yes, collectively over the course of the race, they were...
Like 20-some seconds too quick.
Yeah.
So that, like, for the penalty, they would double it.
Yeah, because you had to be, over the course of 24 hours, at 45 minutes, correct?
I think it was 45 seconds per...
45 seconds per...
per refueling. And
Yeah.
for those who aren't familiar, like when you have a race class with a bunch of different models of cars, they have a bunch of different fuel tank sizes.
Yeah, in different classes, different types of car in the same class. It's part of the whole balance of performance thing where, you could slap a giant tank in a giant car and say, great, I'm just going to go until this tank runs out.
Yeah.
And you get an advantage. And fuel fill rates are...
So that's
all
what
this
the
kind of
initial
stuff,
penalty was. So like
yeah.
so fill rates are regulated and the size of the fuel cell, the capacity of the fuel cells themselves are also regulated. So the first penalty they received was that they were refueling too fast.
Quickly, yeah.
But like it was supposed to be 45 seconds to stop and it was on average 44.5. Like
Yeah,
it was a
something
half
like
a
that.
second.
Yeah.
But that adds up when you do 23 pit stops,
Right.
or 30 pit stops, or whatever is over the course of the race. And then that was what the time penalty they were going to dispute. And then what they also found was that the fuel tank was 0.4 of a liter too large.
Right.
So instead of 96, it was 96.4
Liters.
liters.
400 cc's.
Basically the neck of the tank, probably.
Well, what they actually thought it would be, because they test this stuff in like their test days and they go through pre-inspection and pass.
Yep.
Like you have to do it just to be legal to start. It has to meet those capacities. So what they're actually thinking is, again, for those of you who don't know, these fuel cells aren't like rigid, solid things. They're like almost like a big rubber bladder. And what they thought happened was over the course of 24 hours and bouncing over curbs and heat cycles from slowing down to safety car and then speeding back up, like a wrinkle in the fuel cell actually flattened out, like expanded.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, it's stretched a little.
It's stretched a little to allow 400 cc's
Yeah,
more.
the exact comment from whoever was handling the publicity for it was like, our engineers tried to cut it too close to the edge and they miscalculated.
Yeah.
Because of something silly like that.
That's
Yeah.
why they're not disputing anything, and that was Ben Keating, who actually owns the team.
Yeah.
Andrew may not be familiar with the name, but he was the guy who raced the Viper in GTD a few years ago.
Sure.
Viper Exchange, that's his company.
Oh, okay.
So he just came right out and said, we just cut our margins too close and we got bit. And he's just taking it on the chin, and they're going to move on. So
Initially they were going to get pushed down to second, but with the win strip, do you basically do you get DQ'd?
it's a DQ. Yeah, there's no points. It's just essentially like a DNF.
Brutal. I mean,
I don't know if you guys noticed how much of the race you watched. I watched almost the whole thing. There was some times it seemed like during the race the officials were kind of picking on them anyway at times.
Really?
Yeah. So they had, as anybody does, they get an incident. Something happens over the course of 24 hours. You bounce off of something, and they had put a bunch of 200-mile-an-hour tape on their nose. The official rule states that the nose has to have two working headlights, obviously, for safety. You're racing through the night. Mm-hmm. The headlights worked, but the ACO made them pit anyway.
To check?
Aesthetics.
Oh, for the love of God.
Apparently, the nose didn't look good enough.
So French.
So they had to pit and change the nose out.
What is this, F1?
And he was...
Wow.
And As he left the pits, obviously in a little miffed, the driver was, spun the tires.
Nailed him.
Nailed him. ACO, there's a rule you cannot spin the tires leaving the pits. So drive-through penalty for spinning the tires. When if you watch, there's 60 cars, each doing 30-plus pit stops, there's going to be more than one person that spins the tires.
In 24 hours.
In 24 hours, yeah. And that was the only one that got called. That's a little BS. And then they still win.
Yep.
And now the stats don't lie. Those were pretty subjective, but the fuel.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So you can't argue with the math.
Yeah.
But I bet that's why they didn't even bother appealing.
Right.
It's like they're just going to pick on us anyway.
So it's a shame. That class in GTE Pro, the professional version of the GT class, those classes were a riot.
Yeah, they always are.
The prototypes were kind of meh, especially the top tier. Toyotas were gone. They just fucked off as soon as the green flag went out. And
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seemed like.
That's not funny. It's an open episode. I'm looking forward to when they do the hypercar class. I think that's going to be an interesting hybrid between GT and prototype cars.
I want it to be, but I'm worried that it's actually... I'm worried that it's going to end up like the prototypes, where you'll get a dominant run or just one dominant race, because everyone brings their shit to Le Mans. And it's just going to be one dominant car and boring. That's actually my issue with prototype racing in general. To get
I think
well, that's because Toyota right now is the only manufacturer.
I think when there are those
Toyota
battles,
versus Porsche versus Audi, then we had a little
Audi versus Peugeot.
Like
those were good years,
right? And even if you've got two dominant players and there's competition and you don't know who's going to win, that's when it's fun. And some of the wild things that are being put together for that class, like the new Aston,
the
Valkyrie.
I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm unlike a lot of the changes they made recently to the ACO has put on Le Mans. I'm actually more excited for these than a lot of the previous ones.
Yeah,
I'm cautiously optimistic that it will be a kind of more akin to GT racing than prototype racing.
Well, they're slowing they're saying the lap time target around Le Mans for these cars they want it to be 3 minutes and 30 seconds. That's 15 seconds slower than what they're doing now on average. So if you have your top class doing 3 minutes and 30, your second tier class right now, the LMP2, does already 324s, 323. So now you're going to have to choke them up.
Sure.
So how does that trickle down effect where essentially everybody is going to get slower? Doesn't necessarily mean for a bad race. A lap time doesn't mean it doesn't determine whether or not it's a good race. But teams and these manufacturers have invested in these other classes to do what they're doing, and then because all of a sudden the ACO decides, the top class is going to go 15 seconds slower now. They're getting neutered. They're going to end up getting neutered, which I guess I'm not the biggest fan of. But as far as the class commercially, I think it's going to be good because they somewhat resemble road cars. The cost factor is going to go way down, relatively speaking. I guess Jean Tott, the president of the FAA, said there's been discussions with between 8 and 10 manufacturers who are interested.
That's my big thing. Is
if you have they're thinking 2 is Aston and Toyota probably for the first year, maybe
Toyota
1.
announced they're continuing.
Aston and Toyota confirmed, so they know those 2. They're thinking maybe one more for year 1 of this, but they're thinking by year 2 or 3, if they can get up to 8 manufacturers in the top class,
each that's running a couple cars. That's a 16-car top class.
It worked in IMSA.
That's going to be epic.
So
we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I'm hopeful for. I know there are trickle-down changes that it's hard to know what the outcome of those are going to be, but I think an increased field at the top with kind of more regular cars versus prototypes is going to be a little more interesting. I hope.
Yeah, we'll see.
There is a manufacturer who has pre-announced that they won't be participating. Ford.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it would mean they'd have to build a car.
So, but what I found so interesting about Ford's announcement that they're going to, end the GT program and then not race in IMSA and presumably FIA as well, because IMSA is talking about bringing in hybrids for 2021?
21 or 22.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be Ford's re-entry point.
No. That's when Ford's saying they're going to be gone for sure, because they're saying that IMSA's hybrid requirements aren't steep enough.
Oh, really?
Yep, that's what they're saying. Does that sound insane to anybody else?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Does that not sound like an excuse? Like
Yeah.
they poured all this money into the GT program. It did really well, won races, won popularity, da-da-da-da-da. And now on the one side, it's interesting that they would say that they want tougher hybrid requirements for manufacturers racing in this peak class, which is cool. I just don't think Ford can be believed whenever they say anything, especially stuff like this, where it's like, well, we would race if it was harder. It's like, all right, okay. No,
Sure.
you wouldn't.
It seems like they're just finding an excuse of any kind to take their ball and go home.
I agree.
But
Remember the Ford, the GT program was supposed to be a 2-year deal. And
Right.
it went an extra 2 because they achieved so much success so early. So that's not a surprise. I think those could live on. You could have we already had one person buy one to run as a customer, so you
Yeah.
can see that in WEC in the AM category, or if someone wants to be like a Reese and just be a privateer running a GT LM car in IMSA with it. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's gone if they can find the right buyer to run them. I think Ford as a factory program, they've been saying for a couple of years, since the first talks of the GT program shutting down, that they're using this as kind of a test to see, to kickstart a DPI program and be a DPI manufacturer.
Sure.
So it wouldn't surprise me at all if, I'm guessing, I'm almost going to say with the same team, just with Ganassi, they just move up from
That would be interesting.
GT to prototypes. Ganassi was in prototypes forever until he got the Ford GT program, and then he moved down a class. So
Yeah,
he wants to
yeah.
be top tier. He wants to be have his team going for the overall wins at places like Daytona and Sebring and Watkins Glen and those places. Like, he doesn't, like, class wins are nice, but he wants overall. So it wouldn't surprise me at all with the success they achieved and the familiarity they have with each other, where they just say, all right, we're just going to switch classes and we're gonna run the top class.
That'd be cool.
Could be.
So that's my prediction.
I'd be interested in that too. But yeah, I think I'm just at the point where now anything Ford says, I automatically disbelieve it.
Yeah.
I actively think that whoever said whatever it was is just lying.
Let's just hope that Ford doesn't say that racing has become commoditized.
Oh, for the love of God.
Don't say things like that.
I said, let's hope it doesn't happen.
I know,
Yeah.
but now it will.
I'm pretty sure Ford's not listening to us.
They should
The
be.
universe is. That's all it takes.
They should.
Yeah, you can't put that energy out there. Tristan's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Universe
Sorry.
Universe will bite you.
Do you want me to mute? Am I coming in too hot?
I will
right
cut
now?
that out later.
Okay.
Here's a controversy I actually do want to talk about because I have an opinion for the
do
first
ya?
time ever.
Oh, do you?
Oh, hold on. It's about F1. I have an opinion about F1 for the first time ever.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Clarify. Speaking of penalties, the Canadian GP was what, 2 weekends?
2 weeks ago.
2 weekends ago now. Another race penalty, another winner stripped of the lead. So Vettel won the Canadian GP, quote unquote,
One.
You don't need to quote it. He did.
inside of 9.5 seconds. The officials stripped him of the race win and gave it to Lewis Hamilton. They assessed him a 5-second penalty?
5-second penalty. He made a mistake entering a chicane, and so he went wide on the right-hand portion. So he slid through the grass basically for the left-hand
Yep.
portion of the exit of the chicane, and they called it an unsafe re-entry.
Well, wait, no, because they clarify. They did initially call it an unsafe reentry, but in the
Sounds like
end,
spacecraft.
but in the end, the penalty was assessed not for the way he re-entered the track, not for the way he re-entered the racing line, which by rights, as he was ahead, was still his line.
Yep.
It's because when he came out of the grass, there's a tiny little hip wiggle into. So basically, what happened is, we're on video now. Oh shit! We can use video. So there's the chicane.
People do still listen to us. Don't rely too heavily on it.
I know. But, okay, so Vettel basically plows through the chicane, and Hamilton takes it properly, and sort of as Vettel's coming back into the racing line, just going this way. Hamilton's coming behind him. So basically, as Vettel comes out of the grass, Hamilton's coming up behind him. There's this little wiggle that the car does as they both end up going in the right direction. And it's so hard to tell. There was a camera dead on the action as Vettel was coming back on the track. To me, it honestly looks like he powered out, hit the tarmac, and the car gave him a little bit of oversteer.
Essentially a motorcycle high side. He was sliding, regained traction, which straightened the car out.
Yeah, and that's what it looks like to me, that there's oversteer, because he's correcting out of the grass.
Which is known to happen because you're changing surfaces that have two entirely different grip levels.
Yeah. And so instead of just plowing into the back of him, Hamilton obviously slowed down, and Vettel was the race winner. Not only did this penalty change the outcome of the race, it also ended the F1 season. Mercedes is now in a 30-30 lead over Ferrari in the second spot. So Hamilton is 30 points above Bottas, who's 30 points ahead of, I think it's Vettel in third, right?
Ferrari.
So the season's over. That standing is basically just going to be the way it goes.
Unless Bottas has a good second half and can catch Lewis, and it's an intra-team battle.
But it is still a 30-point lead that Hamilton has on Bottas.
It's a one full race lead. He can take the French Grand Prix off and still come out the points leader.
Really?
Yeah, it's 25 points for a win.
Oh, it's okay. So yeah, but still, it's just like I can. You know what? Let me not say that. I actually can't tell why they called that movement from Vettel the way they did, because it just seems like. And by the way, one of the things was, the race control didn't start this investigation. Hamilton requested that this incident be looked into.
Right.
So it wasn't like race control saying, "Oh my God, he made a dangerous move." Hamilton requested this investigation.
Yeah, he said he
protest.
Yeah, he came out. He came out and said, quick radio call, like he cut me off or something like that. Which drivers like that, they yell that shit all race long.
Well, yeah.
That's nothing new.
It's like
I'm really not putting yes, technically. They looked into it because of Hamilton's radio call, but Hamilton probably said that 3 or 4 times earlier in the race.
Gamers and lag.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Fucking lag.
Exactly.
I don't put any of this on Lewis at all. So...
Really?
No.
It seems just like a little... I don't know. And again, I don't watch F1 enough to know how they do their own shit, and I'm sure it's as by the book and strictly enforced as possible, because that's just kind of the way they are. But it just seemed like a ticky-tack way, and then for him to say immediately, "Oh, it's not the way I wanted to win the race. I didn't want to win like this." Like, well, you did.
You could have not said anything, and then you wouldn't have won the race that way.
Right, exactly, because they weren't about, this wasn't like the whole of the audience in the track went, "Bah! That was such a bad..." No, like, no one really would have noticed. I mean, maybe he didn't want to win this way, but he did.
Yeah, I'm still not putting it on him. Because, like I said, he probably said that 3 or 4 times earlier in the race that we just didn't hear on TV.
Yeah.
20 drivers, they probably get 100 cut off, blocking, check this. Like, they all say it. It's heat of the moment,
Yeah, but come on. How many championships has Hamilton won now?
5.
Let's not pretend that the 5-time world champion complaining in the last 200 yards of the race about an incident isn't immediately going to get looked at when it otherwise might not have.
There was like 10 laps to go after that. It wasn't like the end. It wasn't the last lap.
But it basically was the end of the race.
Well, let's not forget, it wasn't a scrub he was racing against. Vettel's a 4-time world champion, too.
That's true,
So
I guess.
It wasn't like Hamilton versus nobody. It was Hamilton.
Yeah.
It was literally, they was the 2
guy.
best drivers of this generation. So
That's fair.
If anyone's going to get respect, or should, besides Hamilton, it should be Seb, get the benefit of the doubt. I just like his post-race. It wasn't really like a tantrum, but his statement. I don't know if you guys saw that with the.
I didn't. I missed
with
that
the
one.
bullet,
Dragging the numbers?
with the numbers. So the podium finishers, they roll up like under the podium, and there's a 1, a 2, and a 3, and that's where they stop.
Yeah.
So they're not like anchored down. So Vettel got out and he just switched the 2 and the 1. He didn't say anything. He just switched them, and then he went up to the podium.
That's funny.
I did think that was funny.
I thought that was great.
I don't know. It's just
I think it was garbage. It really was. I was watching it when it happened, and they're like,
I actually caught the not
Yeah, you
that,
texted me
live,
about
but
it.
yeah, I caught it just after the race ended.
Yeah.
And
I saw the event. I did not see the tantrum.
I don't even call it
Tantrum.
tantrum. Like, he just made a statement.
yeah, I
A
mean,
little silent
Yeah.
protest.
although I did see a lot of the people saying, "Oh, Seb can't do that." He's a blah, 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 blah. It's like, really? Because I'm pretty sure he just got fucked by a ticky-tack investigation
Yeah.
that is questionable. Either way, I mean, you could say, "Oh, the wheel wiggled," but yeah, the wheel wiggled. He just went from grass to road. That's what happens.
To pavement, I guess the only argument I could see is, like, if you see the onboard on Vettel when he goes through, you can tell his head just snaps to the right to look in the mirror on that side, because he knows that's where Hamilton's coming.
Of
so
course.
It's like, it was intentional because he was looking that way. It's like, well,
Or he didn't want to hit him.
or he didn't want to hit him.
Yeah, that's where he's going to be.
If you're
that's
entering-
why he looked there.
If you're entering the lane of traffic from the left-hand side, the danger is going to be behind you and to your right. You might want to look in your right-hand mirror.
Yeah, where should he have looked? Over left
Into
shoulder.
the grass. Into the grass. Straight ahead. Don't look at me.
I'm not saying
don't
that's
look
my
don't look at me.
argument. I'm saying that
I know.
I mean, if it comes down to people like, oh yeah, he was looking dead right. Well, yeah, because that's where he was going.
Yeah, it's just a bummer to me because it really seems like it seems so indicative of everything that is always said about F1. Like it went this way. The whole thing from the incident to the end of the race and the post-race coverage went only one way. And it's the only way, in my mind, this could ever conceivably go in F1. And it's kind of like, oh, that's why I don't watch F1.
Yeah, it's too overregulated.
Yeah.
Let them race. Let them
So
race.
especially little stuff like that. Like, I feel like there needs to be more of a clear intent.
By the way,
You
there's
know?
so many legit, blatant blocking maneuvers in Formula One races. It's ridiculous
Really?
And they don't get called.
that they don't get called. I mean, you see guys running people across 3 lanes, damn near into the grass, on a regular basis. And he only made one move, so he wasn't.
Oh, sure.
So it's like, yeah, but he knew why he was making that move.
Only one move.
Move with intent.
Yeah. So it's just completely ridiculous. I'm not even that big of a Vettel fan, but I was like, come on, really?
Yeah. Every time I see a replay or an angle, it just seems so conspiratorial. I don't know. It bummed me out because there was for an instant a moment where there was a chance, because if Vettel had won, then he's right behind Bottas.
Mm-hmm.
Then he's within, what would that be, a race and a half?
Well, a race and a half. Oh, he's 60 or out now, right?
He's out 60 now, but he would have been almost tied with Bottas.
Yeah.
If presuming Bottas had then finished third?
Where he did.
Third.
Yeah.
So he would have been much closer, and now it's just impossible for him. It's someone from Mercedes is going to win, season's over.
Yep.
So that sucks. How many more races do they have?
They're on race 9 of 21 this weekend.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So 9 or 10.
Hey, with that many races, anything could happen.
Nope, sure can't.
You don't know me.
Not in Formula One.
It's kind of a bummer.
Well, I think that's good to transition here. Seb drives for Ferrari.
And
Ferrari's been doing more than just complaining about officials' calls in Formula One.
Barely.
We're going to get to that. So, our friends from Maranello they just announced their new plug-in hybrid with 986 combined horsepower.
Yeah.
And the electric motors, when you're running on electric only, can get you 16 miles.
Those are McLaren numbers right there. Mm-hmm. That's what we got.
Yep. Yeah. The SF90.
So fucking ugly.
I was just
It's
gonna say-
so ugly.
Just to say thoughts, reactions.
It's so okay. This directly bleeds into a larger topic that we do not have time for today because it needs to be a whole episode. The biggest problem with that car is clearly they went to someone from Pininfarina to design it. Clearly, And what that person from Pininfarina did is take a piece of fucking tracing paper and trace the Pininfarina supercar that's coming and then sell that shit to Ferrari like they designed it for them. But they didn't. It's the same car.
Yep.
And they're both whack and ugly. They're terrible.
Whack and ugly.
Yes.
Whack.
They don't look cool, and they don't look futuristic, and they don't look fun, and they don't look like hyper cars. They're just stupid. I hate them. Both.
Yes.
It looks terrible.
I don't like the roof. I don't like the tiny engine window.
No.
I don't like the squinty little headlights.
Hate that.
And I don't like that the exhausts are mounted directly below the Ferrari badge on the back.
That looks like Pagani.
Yep.
Yeah.
Looks like Pagani to me.
But not quite, and not as nice. 'Cause
Yeah.
They don't do like the 4-pack.
And Pagani's more brash anyways, just overall design.
Yeah, more angular and more
Yeah.
extreme.
I hate the whole thing.
And it's, dare I say this about a Ferrari, it's too wide.
It's like they took at first
And
glance.
sat on it.
Yeah,
Whatever
they-
you're going to say, they sat on it.
They,
I cut you off, I'm sorry.
no, that's exactly what. They took an F8 Tributo or something and put it in a quesadilla maker and just.
quesadilla maker,
it's,
yeah.
it's Italian. It's a panini press. Let's face
Whatever,
it.
bro. Sure.
Absolutely.
But that's really what it looks like they did.
Yeah. I think it's dumb.
Well, you think all Ferraris are dumb.
But the fact that I've actually gone out of my way to say it about this one,
Yeah.
I love the Tributo.
Yeah,
love
who
that
doesn't
car.
love that one?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
They can make that, and then they can also make this.
Well, they can also make those roadsters.
You have to blame Pininfarina.
Not Ferrari.
Okay, no, we don't have time. However, that is directly what I'm pointing the finger at for
That's fair.
all of this.
Next transition, slightly rapid fire, unless you guys aren't ready to move on.
I mean, they have
ready.
another.
Oh, well, you got more? You got more?
They have
Ferrari?
they have another
Okay, let's hit
prototype
it.
out. A track prototype, the P80/C.
I didn't even hear about this. This is a Ferrari deep cut.
Look that thing up. From the from the side, it looks fantastic. It has 0 headlights.
Oh, I have seen this.
Yep, that's the one.
I kind of hate it. And by kind of, I mean completely.
Like this view right here. From this angle, it looks really good.
Yeah.
But rotate the camera around about 70 degrees towards the front bumper, and everything that was cool about it is gone.
I'm hoping for more views here. Oh, God. Concept art. Take it away. Oh, no. See, my problem with this is it looks like a cheap RC car. The ones that after you let the straight ahead trigger off, it goes backwards and to the right. Mm-hmm. I hate it. I hate it.
It looks like an animal you would find in a cave.
With no eyes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does.
And it's just slightly upsetting because of it. Ferraris always have eyes. They're always glaring at you.
Right.
And the fact that this one's just, like, it's totally blank.
Like a
It's-
Volvo.
So
it's
even if it is
weird.
just a track-only car, you can legally only drive it in the daylight.
Yeah.
What's going on over there?
What happened? What happened, guys? What happened? I don't know.
really don't know.
So, I did that website you're on. I was looking at that last night, and I watched some of that video. I was kind of flipping through, and they were talking about how Ferrari is like a forward-thinking company. And I'm just sitting there going, no. You're like the last to join in the aerodynamic revolution.
I know,
You're like
I know.
The last to go hybrid or anything under a V8. You make a lot of really cool shit, but you're like, forward thinking is not one of the
I wouldn't
adjectives.
use that phrase.
No.
I'm scouring this article for any trace of the word Pininfarina.
Because you know they're in there.
I know it's in here somewhere. I know that shit is in here. I know it's in there somewhere.
I think that the pitch with a lot of these Ferraris has been trying to be forward-looking, and they're trying to look futuristic. And as you mentioned, they're just not.
They're
Like,
not.
it doesn't work.
I'm not saying they're bad. I prefer Ferrari to Lamborghini, but they make a lot of really good stuff. F8 Tributo, for one.
Yeah. Yeah.
The 812 Superfast, another really good one, except for apparently Tristan the back end.
Yeah, I don't like the back end.
But but just do what Ferrari does. Just be Ferrari. You're good at doing what you do. You don't need to try to be forward thinking and all this kind of
Make
stuff.
F1 cars and Ferraris.
Make F1 cars and Ferraris. That's what you do, and you do it well. Just do it.
I guess, but I always wonder.
Although they don't make F1 cars that great anymore.
Yeah, they can't win. But I guess my question is, when did Ferrari get this concept of forward thinking? Did they make it up, or did car culture retroactively look at something like the 458 and say, "Oh, actually, that car was ahead of its time because blah 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 blah"?
I think it might have been the LaFerrari. I think that one was pretty well received, and it had a lot of, for Ferrari's, sake, a lot of advances in technology.
Definitely true.
The hybrid system, all the other stuff, the stuff that they basically ripped off of their F1 cars to put on that thing. And I think they kind of got big-headed about it. They kind of got in their head, and they're like, we're a forward-thinking company. And then, like, everything else that they've released since then that's supposed to be forward-thinking and innovative has just kind of been blah.
But I'm wondering if we go back even farther to the 80s, is there anything in the 80s that's forward-looking? I feel like if it was the LaFerrari, this wouldn't now be a thing for Ferrari, the brand. Like, one of the most forward-looking manufacturers, or once again, Ferrari back with a futuristic spaceship. And I feel like that's definitely in that article. I don't know if I read the word again, but definitely they call it a spaceship. So
It's a spaceship. No,
yeah,
it's not. It's
we fucking know, you guys. I don't know. I think that would be something interesting to untangle, or sort of like the way you could, with an extreme amount of work, untangle which of these prestige brands has the most influence on popular car design. Mm-hmm. I mean, that would take so much work, but it would probably be really, really cool.
Yeah, we'd have to slate that episode for way later in the year, so we'd have time to research.
And list our friend Artisan Loaf in some statistics.
Yeah, definitely. but and the reason I said that is because, once again, one of Ferrari's biggest problems throughout its history is designing with Pininfarina. And I guarantee they were involved in these two extremely ugly cars, because this is the thing they're doing now. They're doing the squinty eyes.
I agree. Which is funny. I cannot.
Or no eyes.
I cannot take this. I cannot miss this opportunity. Executive decision. We're done with Ferrari. Because
Forever?
No, just this episode. Because I really want to talk about this. When I found it in the ideas discussion points,
Yeah.
I was like super interested.
Okay, go for it.
Also has squinty eyes. Also designed by Pininfarina. However, described by you in the notes as the best looking sedan right now. The VinFast Lux A2 has all those characteristics, yet it actually looks fantastic.
It is magnificent to behold.
Based on the BMW 5 Series.
Yes.
It's a Vietnamese executive saloon. Or an SUV.
It is?
The other one.
Yeah, I don't know what that one's called.
They also, the Lux, it's a different letter.
I think it's
at
the
end.
S.
Yeah, something like that.
S8 or something like that.
Yeah.
S8.0.
Yeah,
or
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I agree. Fantastic. The headlights are astonishing that they kind of go across the whole grille. I love the integration of the V for VinFast into the entire design language of the car.
Oh, yeah, it's glorious.
It's everywhere, and it's beautiful.
That's one of the weirdest things, and we're going to end up doing half of the fucking Pininfarina episode right now. One of the biggest problems with saying that design house sucks is that when it comes right down to it, they have put out some of the best-looking road cars, sedans, regular cars, in all of automotive history. The ones that you see 20 years after they debut, and you're still like, wow, that just looks good. Most of those are Pininfarina. And yeah, it sucks that the VinFast is made by Pininfarina because I want to shit all over him. But I do think that car looks incredible.
Yes.
When is it selling here? Or is it coming here?
I don't know if it is coming
think
here.
it is.
I don't think. I can't imagine.
It's based on that BMW four-cylinder turbo four-cylinder, which is certified here.
True.
And a lot of the mechanical underpinnings, the M5 is all certified here. So I wouldn't assume that there'd be a lot of difficulty in getting it, approved by the National Highway.
Yeah,
Safety,
you just
whatever thing.
have to. They'd have to do their own safety tests.
Right. So
But I mean, to be fair, if they managed to get it that far, it should do reasonably well because it is basically just a BMW with different bodywork, and they should, I imagine they would have some success. It's a pretty cool looking thing, kind of futuristic, not in the cheesy way, but it actually looks like it could be from the future from the outside. And then you see the interior pictures, like, oh, it's a car.
yeah, it has a gear shift and a display.
Yeah.
And gauges.
Yeah, imagine that.
Like a thing.
Regular seats.
It does look like one of those things that, like, in a, near future Blade Runner kind of thing where cars are always pitched as just that little much different,
Yeah,
It's
it does.
just that step away with how narrow the headlights are.
Like iRobot.
Yeah. Yep. And anybody we'll post pictures of all these, I'm sure, once we get around to getting all the cars that are in the episode and finding pictures for them. But it literally looks like it has, like, eyebrows painted on. Like, it's a super thin line where these headlights are. And from the side, it kind of, or the front quarter, it almost looks like it doesn't have them. And then they turn the headlights on, and it's like, ooh, they're there, and they look great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know what it is. There's just something very pleasing about the way they've designed that car.
And interesting enough, I'm saying I really like a Vietnamese car. Who knows how it's actually built?
Well, it's a German car.
But
A lot.
It's a German car with
Mechanically.
Italian design that's marketed by a Vietnamese company.
But a lot of that, the secret is a lot of that German engineering depends on the execution of the actual manufacturing.
right,
Yeah.
that's the question. So it's engineered. Can it be assembled?
Exactly.
So I'm interested. So
I am too. I think it could be something really cool to watch, if for no other reason than they seem to have picked a better basis than a lot of the smaller local manufacturers like Katanka. They didn't go with the Chinese company, is basically what I'm trying to avoid saying. I don't know why. They went with BMW, which is admirable.
yes,
What's next?
Well, I mean, we got away from racing, but we should probably go back because I did intend to go F1 directly to NASCAR, who also did a DQ. But I guess that I didn't read the articles clearly enough until today because I actually have it on here twice. But NASCAR did strip their first win in decades in truck last weekend.
Yep. Yeah, Ross Chastain wins the truck race at Iowa. And
and then unwins it.
He unwins it. The ride height, he didn't meet the minimum ride, or not he, it's probably not his fault. The team did not meet the minimum ride height. And NASCAR gives you multiple chances at this. So they'll do whatever they need to do. They'll tell you what's wrong, and they'll give you, I think it's like 10 to 15 minutes, not like to actually take a wrench to it, and in this case, like raise the ride height, but, check the tire pressures, where they since they cooled off, they're not as big as they were before. The pressure has gone down. Let's raise the pressures back up to what it was when it was racing, and like those types of things. And I guess they failed the inspection like 4 times, and NASCAR's like, sorry, nothing we can do. You're done. You're out.
Yeah.
It speaks to NASCAR's actually cracking down this year with their rules
Technical
enforcement
stuff.
Yeah, like if you paid attention to NASCAR stuff, like everyone at the end of the race on Sunday, or if it's a truck race Friday, Saturday, whatever it is, everyone packs up, goes home, and then like on Tuesday, NASCAR would announce penalties, and it would be like, oh yeah, that car that won, like it broke this rule. It still won, but we're gonna fine it this, or we're gonna dock this many points, and then there's like an appeals process. And they announced before this year, like I think it's like the top 5 or top 10 are getting teched right after the race, and if there's something wrong, you get DQ'd. No ifs, ands, or buts, no appeals, no nothing. It's like you didn't even show up. Like they're just cracking down on it because there's so many people taking advantage of these rules.
They're
like,
trying to stem the tide of cheating.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
I
totally.
mean,
Because there's so many loopholes that people were taking advantage of.
which lends it then, a significant air of, we're an actual primetime, racing league at this point. Like, it's big, but it's always kind of been seen as, let's face it, a bit of a circus.
Right.
And, there's it lends at least a little more legitimacy, like we have technical standards and we're going to enforce them. It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm not docking it, actually. I'm applauding them for actually...
Yeah.
Like, you run the show, run the fucking show.
Yeah.
Okay, but so let's compare and contrast here for a second. If we hold that up as this DQ or was the second? No, yeah, it doesn't matter. Ross Chastain's, he disqualified him. He didn't get a penalty. He was disqualified. But let's talk about the 2 other DQs from that exact same race and compare whether or not NASCAR is really holding itself to be some sort of professional standard.
Can't control every driver. I wanted to talk about this because this is the bigger story.
Okay. Yes, you can't control every driver, but let's be real here. All right, let's tell the story first. In that same Iowa truck race, 2 racers I've never heard of. You probably know them intimately.
Johnny Sauter's from Wisconsin, man.
Johnny Sauter, or I was going to say Sauter, but Sauter.
Yeah.
Crashed into another racer's truck, Austin Hill, in the middle of the fucking race during a caution.
Yep.
And you know what his penalty is? They announced it.
Parked him from that race and 1 race suspension.
Yeah, that's insane. If that's the penalty for wrecking another driver under caution, just do that shit every other week. What does it matter? That's next to no penalty.
Well, if you're racing for a championship, that's a huge penalty.
Bullshit. Pull his license. Pull his fucking license. That's about the worst thing you can do to another driver on the track.
I mean, I've
intentionally wrecking them under caution?
People have intentionally wrecked people under caution. They've intentionally wrecked people after the race. They've been in fist fights. There's never been suspensions.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to think of a parallel example. And maybe it's different because there's cars or whatever involved. Like in another sport, what this would be. I just can't imagine why.
Like if someone were to go blindside a quarterback in warm-ups.
Yeah, some shit like that. Like
or like on the way to the tunnel at halftime.
Right. No, but the other part about it is, like the whole caution flag thing, and the whole theory is we have these rules to prevent not only racers from hurting themselves, but to protect corner workers or people who might be literally standing on the track.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't imagine that being the penalty for intentionally wrecking someone under caution. Take his fucking license.
I didn't catch this story. It was intentional?
Yes.
So
that's my only question.
What happened? What happened? The whole thing was during the prior green flag run. Sauter and Hill were racing one another, and they have run into each other once or twice earlier this year. Not taking each other out, just aggressive stuff that they didn't like. So they got a little bit of a beef anyway. So Sauter moved him. Didn't wreck him, but just kind of got in the back of Austin Hill, slid him up the racetrack, little bump and run to pass him. Austin didn't like that much, so a couple laps later he caught back up to him and just straight wrecked him, just lifted his rear end up and sent Sauter into the wall. Sauter wrecking brought out the caution, so his truck was beat to shit anyway. And then under yellow, as they're circulating around for that caution, Sauter just drove up and just pancaked Austin Hill into the fence.
Nah, I'm sorry. You can't fucking headhunt another racer.
Well, you can, but not under caution. That's as far as I'll go. Like. All
right.
Like,
I have no problem with what Austin Hill did.
I'll stick with that.
Yeah, if you've got a beef and you want to wreck your own car and get yelled at by your own crew chief for that shit, that's your problem.
I'll even buy that.
But I think your biggest statement is about it's under caution. There's a safety car out there which doesn't have the same kind of equipment. Helmets and devices and things to keep in place that a real car does. Corner workers all over the place. People cleaning up the track. That is the time when the track is should be absolutely known to be a safe place.
Yes.
Because these cars
as safe as it can get in that environment.
Right.
But I'm saying these cars are going well under their top speeds. The safety car's out. They should be in a predictable place on the track where you can run out and do things. So they're going to be lined up behind the safety car in this section of the track. And we've seen at IMSA races, corner workers are out on the track behind the safety car as the pack comes through,
Yeah.
because they know they're gonna, nose to tail sneak by very carefully because it's under caution, and under caution you got to put that stuff on hold. If you're gonna then, like we saw at VIR, if you're gonna like the Lexus team did, if you're gonna really get after somebody, you wait for you wait for green flag racing, and then you and your crew chief can find out how expensive your little beef was,
right?
And your sponsors and your team owner, but you're not gonna put anybody else at risk. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the drama. I'm fine with people beefing it out on the racetrack. I think that's great. I think it's funny. I think it's fun, especially if you don't actually end up like hurting them. If you just like pancake the car and mess it up and everything, if you're not going to actually try to like spin them and put them into the wall at 200 miles an hour, a little bit of a different thing, But if it's just some more or less harmless to individuals, giving each other grief, that's fine. But my biggest issue is with it being under yellow.
Yeah, under caution, I think is the big thing. And I'm not saying Lexus expel the guy from racing, but
Well, you did. You said pull his license.
Yeah, pull his license for the year. For
the year? Got it.
Is that not too much to ask?
Or even make it a worthwhile. Like I know you said if you're racing for a championship, it can matter, but I think one race, depending on when it is in the season, may or may not matter.
Especially for someone who wasn't contending for a championship. I mean, we're not talking about someone who was contending for a championship.
Yeah, he was.
Was he?
Yeah, they both are.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, definitely pull his license for the year. Because he basically
if you do that, you don't get a chance to be a champion.
Yeah, he basically just did it because why the fuck not? Think of how calculated that move had to be. He knew the race was under caution. He knew it was because of his actual accident. No. I can't imagine another sport letting something like that slide. It's basically like if Malice at the Palace happened and they were just like, one game.
I don't think it's anything like Malice at the Palace.
Wrecking another driver under caution? I mean, no fans got hurt.
Yeah,
but
he didn't run up into the crowd and beat the shit out of fans.
But in terms of, fine, not Malice. It's so hard to think of another thing that's like this.
Because it's so rare that a lot of other sports rely on that much equipment.
Yeah.
I don't think they are actually out to murder each other. Like they're out to mess up each other's race cars. And, it's hard in others. It's like maybe skeleton or bobsled at the Olympics. Just take somebody's object and smash it.
I just don't know.
But it's hard to say because assaulting a quarterback at some inopportune time is actually assaulting somebody,
right?
Versus just messing up the tool they need to win the race.
It's really hard to figure it out. So. I guess so. Then let's just counterbalance it with what they did. All right, so professional NASCAR gives someone 19 chances to fix a broken suspension or whatever it is. I mean, it could have been that they literally could have broken the suspension on the truck, and then you're low. Versus a 1-game suspension for someone wrecking someone during the one time during a race when you absolutely cannot be fucking around. Are both of those equally professional? Is this the NASCAR? Yes, they're so professional. They're gonna get those cheaters. God damn it! But this is cool. One race, fuck it.
No, they got him.
Yeah, I guess they
Which
sure
is equal
did.
to one race for being lower than the minimum ride height.
All right, man, sounds good.
Yep,
those two things are equal.
We move on.
I think it's insane, but yeah, cool.
I think it's an improvement. I think there could have been a time where nothing was done.
Yeah, but you can't use that argument. There was a time when nothing would have been done. And them doing something is better than them doing nothing.
Yes.
But that's not what's at issue here.
You can say that it's not enough. That's what I said.
Yeah.
About the technical specification. I was like, it's at least this kind of glimmer of professionalism as, it shows, in movies and stuff where, needles almost move, they kind of wiggle and go back to where they were, and you can tell it's going to go up, that's what you can hope it will be, where you're starting to see these signs that they realize that they have to be taken more seriously, and to do that they have to do things like this, and hopefully it'll end up being wow, only one race, that's not enough, and next time they'll do 2 or 3, and then they'll pull his license or whatever. It's the first time they've verged into this territory in ever.
know how long.
For this type of thing, probably. I mean, there are whole fist fights where people they're not out
Suspended.
for a race, right? I mean,
Nope.
like that is actually assaulting somebody.
Yeah,
like,
but half the time they're wearing helmets. So let's slow down on that one.
Well, I mean,
you
they're wearing-
wailing on the dude in the car with the helmet, you're really gonna hurt your hand.
hey, that's dangerous.
Well, I mean,
It's pretty
out on
dangerous.
track, they're in helmets and 5-point safety harnesses and Hans devices. Like, you can't use their safety equipment as...
Really? Because you just said it's better than them doing nothing, as
It is better
evidence
than
that
them
they
doing
did a
nothing.
good job.
No, I never said they did a good job. I said they did more than they would have before, which is movement in the right direction. That's all I'm saying is that there's needle ticking. We'll see. That's what I'm hoping is that this is the first signs of them attempting to be taken more seriously.
We'll see. All right,
see.
then. What would you have to do to get a 2-race suspension from NASCAR?
Murder. At this point, we'll see. Maybe it'll improve. Maybe that's just a one race suspension of fine.
And how many races are in the NASCAR truck season? It's not actually that many, right?
25, I want to say.
That's plenty. 1 race isn't enough. That's plenty. All right. What else? Do you have any more race stuff? Talked about Toyota coming back. Mm-hmm. Very exciting.
Yep.
Talk about VinFast. Let's talk about one maybe future race car, the once in future race car, the next Ford GT500.
Yeah, the 760 horsepower one.
That one. Woo! Because clearly the horsepower wars have just been continuing in the background here in America for the past 5 years or so.
Meanwhile,
Yeah. So, yeah, I just don't know what to say about it, really. I think it looks cool. I think it looks great. Mm-hmm. But why? But why? I thought that, honestly, I did think that once the Hellcat came out, that would, for some reason, I thought that would be the end of it.
just kind of the mic drop of this whole thing.
Not even a mic drop. I just thought anyone else would look at that and go, yeah, we're that's fine.
We're cool.
That's
You can
enough.
have that one.
That's enough. But no. And then the Hellcat
Demon.
The Demon.
Then Dodge looked at its own product and went, not good enough. Not enough.
But I guess the thing was that there was always one step removal from reality. So, for example, the Hellcat 700 horsepower, fine, whatever, go nuts, have a ball. No one who buys that car is going to do anything but rev it up to 65 miles an hour between lights. Cool. Then the Demon came out, and that just seemed like, all right, no, you found your target market. Great. No one gives a shit.
More of a technical exercise than
Exactly.
anything.
But
yeah.
that's not what happened. What I thought, and then basically, when the Camaro ZL1 came out, I thought, oh, hey, cool. Track focused. We're back.
That wasn't just as much horsepower. That's a complete car.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
a complete car.
That wasn't just a horsepower number. But now I just don't know where we're going with this pony car, muscle car, drag car shit. I mean, they're all kind of one car to me, but at the same time, they're clearly not because no one's taking a Challenger to the racetrack.
Right.
It's just, I don't, and the thing is about the GT500, it's likely to be both, right? You don't give something 760 horsepower if you don't want people to drag it, right? Because it's America.
I always thought that, I read somewhere that they were making a track pack Mustang, like specifically for drag racing and bracket racing.
But that's the thing. This car,
was not marketed like that.
no, and this GT500 won't be. That's going to be a track racing.
I think you
like
look at the wing and the front splitter and you know that's not the case.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a race car.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I've got a couple. I mean, my one thought is that like Ford knows that now this is the Mustang is like their only car. So
Yes.
As many variations with horsepower and this and that they can
Doodads and wings.
as many different versions and trims, like just squeeze everything they can out of it. Or my other thought was, are they just chasing after FCA on this horsepower thing? And if so, why?
Well, that's
it just seems like a gimmick.
That's one other thing that was one variation of what I was talking about, because now
I do agree with you. It looks fantastic.
Well, one time I walked into the when Meg was looking at cars, we looked at Jeeps, and when we walked into the local FCA dealership, they had on their lot a total of 3 Hellcats. Okay, fine. So presumably those all sold at some point. The issue is the GT500 is an extremely gettable car. I see at least one of those every day, and it's a different one. You know what I mean? Like, those cars are out.
Yes.
760 horsepower in like a civilian, like a Mustang buyer's hands.
Think about all the deaths at Cars and Coffee.
I was just gonna say, Cars and Coffee just got a whole lot worse.
What is too much? Not to sound like, pearl clutching, but honestly, what is too much for just a regular person to buy? Because this car is going to be gettable, and it's going to be on the market in real numbers. I don't even know if the Hellcat was.
I wonder if it is, though. That would be my only question. If this changeover to this new design, this new model is going to be because of the extra cost and engineering, everything that went into this horsepower, if it's going to be a significantly more down produced, it's going to not have those numbers. It's going to take more to assemble them, or it's going to be the new GT500 will have this many horsepower. It's like, okay, yes, but how often those used to be made? Like, now they're gettable, but like for a long time, each one was like separately built, and there weren't very many of them.
That's fair.
Are they going to go back to that model and make like the GT320?
The 302 and the Laguna
302.
Seca, when they did that double track car release where those were like super limited runs.
Yep, and like I'm saying, there's a Shelby GT 320 or something like that. That's just like the light version, diet Shelby.
Sure.
And make that the more common. Those are what you can get anywhere, and then kind of rarify that GT500.
Re-rarify.
Right. And
you could be right.
That would be maybe why they did this. Other than that, I can only say insanity. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't. I mean, I've seen 2 demons in my life. One of them was just on a flatbed because it was in pieces.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, so I mean, there is a very real danger here that once you start producing things like that they're just going to hurt people.
Oh, yeah.
And, I think that I appreciate immense amounts of horsepower. I like that they're creating this, but I do hope that it's going to be and we made 100 of them, or, something significantly rarer than they are now.
It almost has to be. I never thought about them reusing an old name. And you know what? Maybe what they'll do is it'll be, just like you said, the GT500 Henry pack. I might call it the Henry pack.
Henry pack.
Is that not cool?
Okay.
And, so it will be a GT500, but it's not really.
It's fitting, but it just doesn't have a really great ring to it.
No, it sounds terrible. I couldn't think of anything kind of...
GT500H.
There you go.
H, hey, that's cool.
H for Henry.
Yeah, I mean, I other than that, as long as they build an equivalently cool race car to go along with it.
GTH 500.
GTH 500.
Go to hell.
Go to hell. All right.
Nice.
Yeah, we got you.
I'm working on it over here. I'll get back to you on it.
Okay, then let's do some more car reactions here. Did anybody see the new Aston Martin Valhalla?
Yes.
I did not see. I heard about, but did not see. I do feel.
We'll talk about
I do
it,
feel
Nicole.
remiss with a car named Valhalla.
Well, it's been positioned as, if they can be this way, it's like a smaller, less expensive Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Kind of like the everyman's Valkyrie.
You have your own phone. Yeah.
Twin turbo V6. What I actually thought was kind of cool is that it uses this the sealed oil system from Nexel, which means like everything, like the entire system, like the oil pan, the filter, it's all like self-contained, and it's 90 seconds to replace it.
Wow.
You just like unscrew a couple things, the whole thing drops out, put in a new one.
That's going to be expensive.
It's going to be super expensive. And it also uses flex foil, which is found in airplane wings.
Flex Seal.
Not Flex Seal.
Oh, sorry.
Not the same stuff that they used to repair cut-in-half boats.
Oh, okay.
I saw this boat in half.
I saw this Aston Martin in half.
Show you the power of
Flex foil.
Flex foil. I built this boat in half.
Built this boat in half?
Yeah, whatever it is. You got to be building something with flex foil.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's
I love the. So, listen, I had read about it,
kind of looks like a tadpole.
It's ugly.
and I think the funny thing is
No, a catfish. That's what it looks like.
the Road and Track review of it says that Aston Martin wants this to be a car you can use every day. It has space for luggage and even a mount for your phone on the dashboard.
Wow.
Fuck no.
Wow.
Yeah, let me just hop in. Let's go.
Why is it so ugly? Why?
I don't so much, doesn't strike me so much as ugly as just simply generic.
Is this McLaren's fault because of the speed tail? Did they do this?
Is this them?
Is
It could
this their fault?
Well, I mean, Aston Martin has a really, 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 really tight connection with Red Bull, so I think this is more Adrian Newey than it is influence from McLaren.
But I'm just like,
The super designer that Red Bull has is involved in a lot of these new. He did the Valkyrie. I'm sure he
I
had
like
his hands.
the Valkyrie.
Yeah, I think the Valkyrie
Yeah.
looks great. I'm sure he had a
fantastic
hand on
name.
this.
I guess I'm just thinking like McLaren put out the Speedtail, which was obviously heinous, like objectively very, very, very ugly. And since then, the floodgates have opened to these brands putting out ugly cars, and no one's saying anything.
Am I the only one seeing this?
It's new and it's great. And no, it's horrible. I'm going to go blind if this keeps happening.
Save us some wear and tear, I think. But
Yeah,
that's
it'd be
all right.
great.
Just out of pure spite, I will go blind.
At least then you probably couldn't keep bashing their cars. So maybe they would appreciate it if you did.
No, he'd listen to the exhaust notes, and
Sounds ugly.
it sounds ugly.
What are you driving? Aston Martin Valhalla.
Told you.
Sounds hideous.
I would know. That so strong is the power of my correctness.
She sounds hideous.
Yikes.
Well, I'm a guy, so
We'll say an AM. What about the new old Aston Martin Zagato?
This one I didn't look up. I don't really have an opinion on it.
So Aston Martin's doing this thing where they're remaking old cars in very limited batches.
Yes.
Including the Zagato and the DB5,
right?
which they're doing with Bond gadgets. That's so stupid. But I don't know if I like this.
Oh, the shooting brake one?
No. The older Zagato. I
the
don't know what it is. It might be
DB4?
the DB4. Yeah, I think it's the DB4 Zagato.
Oh.
Yeah, and they're not the only brand doing this. Toyota is now remaking new old parts for Supras.
yes, I heard about that.
I just, can we not do this?
I don't understand what the problem with the retro parts is.
I think it's an interesting idea. I really do. But I think I find it weirdly like transgressive that Toyota would do OEM parts for two cars that have perhaps the strongest aftermarket in the entire world. It'd be like Honda remaking S2000 parts. Like, we're actually good.
Toyota isn't getting a piece of that aftermarket action, though. That's what this is.
I know,
about.
and that's why I say it seems weirdly transgressive. Like, they just want in.
And here again, speaking from I don't know, my wonder is if there are aftermarket parts, but not for critical systems of some kind. Like some weird computer part that they used, or something like that. That
Could be.
To keep the Supra culture thriving, they need these like super basic parts that there isn't an aftermarket for.
It's possible.
That would be my assumption.
It's possible, but I'm pretty sure even the newest Supra before this one obviously would have been only ODB2.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be that complicated.
Well, no, it's not that complicated, but I just wonder if anybody's making them. And it doesn't have to be a computer. It can be some widget in the engine somewhere, sensors or no one's bothering to make.
It's possible.
I don't know. I just think the opportunity to have an OEM reproduce 2J engine is pretty dope.
That is kind of cool, but that
Especially
also just seems like we're covered on that.
Especially if you use it as a platform,
right?
Being able to rebuild from scratch and then build on top of it.
Yeah,
I mean, if even look down to the classic car market too. Like, there's some machine company who got a little money saved up, bought the rights from GM or from Ford to reproduce those parts to keep that. Like, these cars are only going to get older. I mean, so I think it's actually kind of a neat idea that the manufacturer is like, you know what? People are maintaining these cars for this long. Why don't we help them out? Why don't we just provide the parts? Let's get a piece of that action that they don't have right now.
I just don't see it as being out of the kindness of their hearts.
No, they're running a fucking business.
It's like I just don't see it happening like that. Like, Toyota looks and like, oh man, people really love the Supra, and we just noticed this year, but people really love the Supra. More specifically, they don't love the new one we put out; they love the old one. Yeah, let's throw them. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's because I feel like Toyota now understands the reception to the new Supra has been so poor, but they need to keep that name alive. So now they're doing something that's kind of like retroactively cynical to keep interest in the brand because they might have just fucked it up.
I just think it's someone in the boardroom is like, there's a huge market for this stuff and we have zero stake in it.
But now after this going on for 30 years?
Maybe it was planned. Maybe they planned it like, hey, we launched the Supra this date, the new Supra, and we announced this part.
Reinvigorate the interest. And then
it's part of their overall marketing campaign.
Bump set spike. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe. It seems like a weird thing to go back.
Well, it was a shitty bump.
Yeah.
So
very bad.
Yes.
We'll see how the set does. I don't know what kind of spike they're going to get out of this.
So
it's a good analogy.
Yeah, I'm just a hopeless optimist. So,
we know.
We'll see.
I don't know.
Except again, drift.
We will see. Mode. When Honda gets in on it, then we'll know it's for real.
Yeah, when it's S2000 parts.
Yeah.
early 2000 Civic Si parts.
Honda, that's free money.
How much time do we want to spend on this whole FCA Renault piece?
Man.
I mean, there was some shit happening there.
It's hard to tell.
There was some shit happening there.
It feels like a whole separate thing.
You think?
Yeah, I think there's enough there that...
It might.
Yeah.
But I mean, just very briefly, just so we have talked about it at all, there was a proposal for an FCA Renault alliance merger of some scale.
$35 billion.
Of large scale.
With a B. Yes.
Yeah. Billion, not million.
Yeah.
Billion.
Billion.
Yeah.
Before we even had a chance to talk about that, it dissolved.
Yeah.
Primarily, or possibly the speculation is, and from what they've come out, to say that it was because of the French government. But that initial plan had Nissan almost completely on the outs with the alliance.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So now FCA, it's not dead though. FCA came back about a week later saying they were still interested, but they needed more input from Nissan, which they weren't concerned about the first time, to be honest. And they needed...
Yeah, they just kind of unilaterally went...
Yeah, and they needed more in the conversation with the French government.
Because I think they're trying to get more clout, FCA and Nissan together, to try to push back on the French government.
Right, and the reason why the French government's involved is because they own a majority stake in Renault, the company. Yeah, so I don't know. It's so hard to know what to even say about it because it's so in process. And then, of course, the side act to this is the actual alliance between Renault and Nissan is so bad at this point that Gosen... I think he's back in jail. He might be out again now. I can't remember.
Who knows where he went?
I don't know. It's just
somebody does.
It's basically sitting there laughing at him, saying, "Ha ha, you actually can't do it without me." It's just the whole thing is such a mess, and we still don't really even know why it started, like when it did.
Right.
All of this goes back to...
This is going to be a documentary.
I was going to say, cue the Netflix documentary.
I would watch. I mean, all this goes back to Carlos Ghosn getting off a plane in Japan and getting arrested. That's where this all goes back to. Why that trip?
My man got hooked. Just
Why was he going to Japan? How was Hirota Saikawa involved? All of this goes back to that one moment, and this could have cascading effects for the rest of the auto industry.
I'll say more or less everyone.
Yeah. And for all of time, genuinely. Because who knows what's going to happen to Nissan and Mitsubishi and Renault and F and C and A. Alliance. Alfa Romeo.
there you go. Good save.
And Citroen. And, I mean, half the brands on the face of the globe are impacted by this.
Yes.
But there's just not enough information for us to know much about it.
Somehow there's not enough information.
It's so crazy.
Kudos to like all the PR teams for keeping everybody's mouth shut.
Yeah, they're doing a good
Like they're
job.
doing a damn good job, making it hard for us and pros alike who are trying to report on this.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyways, I just had to say something about that because I've been so interested in this since it happened, and things have been happening, but at the same time, nothing's been happening.
So fucked up. But right, that's a full freaking episode.
Yes, full episode, especially if possibly we could ever know more, then it'll be something to really talk about.
Right.
I have one. It's apropos of nothing. Just more of the just a quick car reaction. You know, we're getting near on time, but
okay.
I saw something while I was trolling through the auto news to bring something to the table today. I very much, I think I said it for a long time, compared to a lot of their products, the most reliable hit with me from Porsche has been the Cayman.
Yes.
I saw the new GT4 Cayman. Oh,
looks beautiful.
Yep.
Thank you. I was like, you're all looking at me, and I'm like, are they going to say it's terrible?
No, it looks great.
Because I love it.
Looks like a car first and a Porsche second.
Uh-huh.
And I could not be happier about it.
And they brought back the flat six.
I don't care
for
about
that car, which I think there is a certain, like, it was designed to have one.
Sure.
The first one was. So what I'm hoping is that's mainly because of from the competition standpoint and stuff like that. You know, or the balance as it's a GT4 car. Yeah. What?
Sorry, I just caught this headline. I'm
Tesla
sorry.
update.
Oh.
That's how lithium-ion batteries work. Anyways, people, it's so hard for me. This is exactly going back to what we talked about with our last Porsche coverage.
Yeah.
I want to be interested.
Yes.
And then I just see a flood of reactions about, straight six.
Flat six.
Flat six.
From me, I don't care. I'm the one that was super pumped when they announced the Turbo 4. You know, on the 911. That's not about history for me. It's because they made it a competition car.
Yeah.
And the chassis was designed around a flat six.
Yeah.
The GT4 is the only one that has that now for the Cayman, which I like that they kind of went, well, okay, if it's going to be a race car, it really should be put together how the engineers did all the math the first time.
Sure.
Who cares what the purists say? The engineers say something of this size and weight with this type of power output should be sitting up in this spot right here.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, okay, guess we have to do that anyway. Like the big push for all the other engines and everything and all the mainline Caymans, whatever, we have to put this one in there because this is what's going to be the fastest. That is one of the few things I really do appreciate about Porsche. Because I, like you, I'm probably even worse. I feel guilty. I'm a German car guy. I should love these things, and I kind of like them. That's about it. And I think because of the cachet and the history and the people who are interested in them being like, oh, if it doesn't have an engine practically sticking out of the back of it, it's not really a 911.
Right.
But when they moved it more towards the middle, everybody gasped, like, okay, whatever, I don't care. But then they do things like, well, in our best car, we're going to only offer a double clutch gearbox because it's the fastest thing.
Right.
Purists, we don't care. This is in this car because this is going to make it go the absolute fastest. Deal with it. And it's those moves that I really enjoy. That was really what I was talking about. I think it looks fantastic with the little extra wing in the back.
Really does look fabulous.
I think it balances out the car tremendously.
Yes.
And I'm happy that they were basically like, I know that everyone's pushing for these smaller Porsches to have the cool new turbocharged engines and everything else. And there's already a crazy tuner market for them.
Of course.
You know, and it's like, okay, forget that though, because this is the race car. It needs to have the engine that was designed to go in there. And they don't really care what anybody thinks. In my opinion, it's more of that versus pandering to the purists, you know, in this case, and I appreciate that.
But if it makes the purists happy, it is probably bad. That's my gut reaction.
think with your brain, and come with me here. No matter what you think of the engine, though, I think it looks fantastic.
Oh, really does.
I'll have one in orange and black, please.
I love the yellow that they're presenting.
Yeah, the yellow's
whoa.
sweet.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I'll be happy to see that body style anywhere. I just love it.
Yep.
And I think hopefully you're going to see kind of like you have with some of the 911s where they take some of the crazy things that get stuck on the higher level cars and bring them down.
That would be dope.
So you can get that spoiler without the GT4 package on it.
Yeah.
And then think about that with the convertible one. If they put that on the Boxster.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah. So I've always been a big fan of the Cayman ever since it came out swinging and beat the 911 at its own game. For in the first year, the Cayman was faster around a bunch of racetracks than the 911 was.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. In its first and second year, then Porsche went, whew,
Oops,
and then dialed it back. So I've been a big fan of the Cayman a long time. I love the new one.
Yeah. Awesome.
I have something I want to ask because it applies to the greater car culture at large, but something I've been thinking about a lot and just pestering Tristan with incessant rhetorical questions about the Veloster N. Because I now drive 40 minutes to work.
Yep.
On a car that has a suspension that is not meant for driving 40 minutes to work on horrible Wisconsin roads. Mm-hmm. So
roads.
Yeah. So I've been looking at the N just because I love that car and because for all I do, every other car I look at, it sits there like, oh, but by the way, I'm $15,000 cheaper and faster. I'm like, oh, right, you are.
Right.
But so here's my question. And it has to do with the way Hyundai has moved themselves from, at least in my view, from the cheap car that you didn't really want to the less expensive car that you still don't know about, but you really should.
Shameless plug, referenced in my blog this week.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yes. That's that exact moment for you and I think.
Yeah, but my question is this. When it comes to car development cycles and companies jumping on technology bandwagon. So, for example, the ZF transmission. It's not a double clutch transmission. It's a single clutch automatic that's very, very good.
Yes.
It's an 8-speed transmission. So one of the things Hyundai did when they built the G70, they didn't use the ZF. They made a transmission that's 85% as good as a ZF, put it in their car, and they charged 25% less for it. So the Veloster N is going to get a double clutch gearbox, and it's going to be the exact one from that they use in Meg's Kona. Mm-hmm. The first iteration of that box was fucking shit.
It was real rough.
And it was in the Veloster Turbo. And one of the reasons, when I read reviews of the original Veloster Turbo with the double clutch, and they had it in the Rally Edition, so that's the one they sent out to all the reviewers, one of the things everyone said about that car is that the box was slow and slushy, and the car felt floaty around corners. That initial double clutch gearbox, I think I've solved this one. Because when I drove the Veloster Turbo for the first time on the freeway with the double clutch, it felt like shit. That box was just heavy enough to make the car float at speed.
Because it was front heavy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen in the manual. So that's why I ended up buying the manual, because I actually drove it again and was like, what car is this?
Yeah.
But so that second generation of that box is fabulous. It shifts really crisp. It's super intelligent. And it's so good they're going to put it in the new N. They have the clips of the way they hide double clutch transmissions in test cars, have you ever seen it? They put a big cowling over it, but the guy still puts both hands under it and goes like this to put it in park. It's like, all right, no, we just take it off. We know.
Yeah.
But anyways, so if that double clutch gearbox is 85% as good as something from what's a good example? Who's got a really good from
Volkswagen.
Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Which I think the argument you can definitely make, it's at least 85% as good. And you save the 25%. Why isn't that appreciated more? Why isn't Hyundai homebrewing good solutions appreciated more?
I think it's the feeling behind the question of, or that it kind of smacks of being a budget brand.
Yeah.
That stigma, and I appreciate it. Like I said, I mean, if I suddenly find myself mid-tier executive, I'm going to the dealership and buying a G70 immediately.
I love that car.
I love that car. I appreciate the absolute balls off of Hyundai. Like, I think they're doing fantastic things at great prices, but I think in the markets in which you're paying attention to.
Yeah.
I think things like the N, like your Veloster Turbo, in Genesis, most people would pay 15% more to get a better box. And I think that's the, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think if you could say that they found good solutions other places to save cost.
Yeah.
Engine manufacturing, efficiencies in, scale or literally location of manufacture.
Mm-hmm.
They're building them in Korea instead of Germany. Like, if you're going to build a car that's $10,000 less instead of $15,000 less, but has a box as good as a GTI,
Right.
that's a bigger seller than, like, if you do the math, do the algebra we said we don't use, right? We're talking about that at dinner. If you look at it and you just, okay, so the box is 15% worse, but I pay 20% less for the car, I come out 5%. People don't sit there and do that math. I think that's
Right,
why
clearly.
I think that's why it's not appreciated. I think you're asking people to think a lot more than people do. All they see is, well, that's not as good. That's where they stop. It's like, well, that's 15% not as good as a GTI. I'm going to go buy one of those.
Right,
And,
right.
And there's also a brand loyalty thing to take into account too. Like, there's some people who they'll be blind to the facts.
Sure.
Yeah, I think
Sure.
yeah, but that doesn't apply to, like, reviews or the professional auto industry.
That's a really good point.
No, it doesn't.
There shouldn't be any brand loyalty there. A car magazine should be able to say.
So are you asking
"Damn,
why doesn't the reviewing world appreciate it or the buying public?
I guess
that's
it's
a different
I guess
question.
I'm asking the question both ways, and I guess for me, my perspective on, like, the Genesis competition specifically has really shifted, looking at reviews for everything in that line. So, like, for example, the G70 on paper is compared to, I mean, even like BMW class, Audi class sedans.
That's what they're shooting for."
Yeah, but their statistical fight, their numerical fight is Acura,
Yes.
and it's Lexus.
Yeah.
And the G70 crushes the TLX
TLX.
and the Lexus. IS 300,
500.
475 going once.
480.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
That Lexus.
It will crush those two cars mechanically. The gearbox is better. There's more power. It's just manufactured better. Mm-hmm. But I see a million TLXs on the road, and I've never even seen a G70 on the road. Why? That seems to be the market that should be able to make the switch.
Yes, but honestly, I would almost argue from the people I know, entirely unscientific, entirely anecdotal, from the people that I know, like, my dad has driven Audis, Volkswagens, Mercedes, BMWs. Like, he appreciates a well-designed, well-built car.
Yeah.
And I feel like those people are actually more fluid in brand loyalty You'll get people to switch away from those cars because they've already stepped into that tier where they appreciate how good they are. And if there's something that comes along that's as good or better, they're like, well, I like that. And they move to it. When people are buying Lexuses or Acuras, they're buying them because they are Lexuses or Acuras. Because if they want something better, they could have it. Buy a Mercedes.
True.
That's
a good point.
And if they were willing to, if they wanted less money and the same kind of reliability, buy a Honda.
Or a Honda.
And, buy a Honda, buy a Toyota.
And you're probably right, because I have brought that up a bunch.
And, I know a guy in particular, I will not say names, it's rude, but he is just a rabid Acura fan and will find an answer for any, oh, I'm looking at buying a new car, I'm looking at this, and this. He always has the Acura you should buy. Even when it's wrong. It's like, I'm looking at a pickup truck. Have you considered one of the Lexus SUV, one of the Acura SUVs?
RDX or whatever.
It's like, I am looking at a pickup truck. Oh no, but you can still tow with these. And it's like, you're missing the point. I think those people are actually almost more rabid than the top tier German manufacturers.
You might be right.
I don't know if it's a chip on their shoulder or they're entranced by this kind of interesting balance between low maintenance costs and reliability from a Japanese car with a little more excitement and luxury and stuff like that. If that has particularly hooked them, but I feel like they're way more into it than people with BMW, Audi, Mercedes, that kind of thing. So
it's just that's been my frustration looking at the fact that it seems really unfair that Hyundai can design out of whole cloth, essentially, in its now second iteration, this G70, that will absolutely destroy anything from Acura, mechanically and in terms of driving feel and in terms of excitement. And it'll even look better. Although I'm coming around on the TLX, I'm actually starting to really like it. And competes with the big boys in performance and still undercuts it in price. And they just can't get consumer love. Yeah. That seems really unfair to me. Maybe it's called brand loyalty, whatever. But
I want to dispense some words of consolation. I really do think it is simply a matter of time.
Let's hope,
because there was that switch from a lot of people who were like, well, if it's not from this country, it's garbage. And now you see people who would have fallen into that cohort all driving Toyota Avalons.
Every single one.
Things like that. And I think there's going to be that shift from, if it's not necessarily the hardest core people of that, I think it's just a matter of time. I think Hyundai Kia has proven themselves willing to do this. Simply just battering ram their head against the wall until they get people to understand.
Yeah.
And I think you're starting to see that with consumer cars. People will genuinely consider a Hyundai minivan, a Hyundai family sedan, a Kia family sedan. Mm-hmm. The Kia Soul is stupidly popular.
It really is.
They sell tons of those things.
By the way, Kia, will you just fucking make an all-wheel drive one? Oh my god.
All-wheel drive,
turbo god.
Yeah.
Why would you not do this?
The Soul!
Kia?
Exclamation point.
All-wheel drive. Why will you not do this?
Yeah. So they're stupidly popular in the consumer market, and I think you have to just beat down those walls. And I think that they are in absolutely intent on doing so. And I think that for me, I think it's just a matter of time. They got me, so
that's true. That's true.
Availability too. I mean, Hyundai is known for not releasing things in bulk.
Well, I mean, I think as we've talked about before, they have become incredibly good at hitting their sales targets.
They know exactly how many they need to make.
And for example, our local Honda dealership has no less than 25 G70 sitting on their lot right now in every color, in every trim.
Do they make orange ones?
No, they don't.
Damn it.
Orange.
You can custom paint that though.
Yeah, I'm going to submit feedback.
Submit feedback.
One last thing I have to cover. It's tangentially related to Hyundai.
Quickly.
Really quickly, my dream car from the Dream Car episode is Approacheth Thing, courtesy of Seat. They are producing a electric hybrid vehicle with 240 horsepower and estimated electric hybrid MPG in the 40s. All of this is exactly what I said would happen. and come on, let's go. Hurry up. Let's see it. I want this Golf in America in 3 years, or this GTI in America with a hybrid in 3 years. Let's go.
We
let's
thought it
move
would be Skoda. Turns out it's a different division.
Seat, yeah. Let's move it along.
It
Come
was
on,
originally
folks.
announced for Skoda, though, right?
Yes, it was. They had.
Because you showed the picture.
Yes.
I did
On our live video we did a while
and they
back.
stole my design. Yes, it's
Yes.
true. But it looks like between Seat and Skoda, Seat is actually going to be the first one for the car. Skoda, they're doing their SUVs and they're just crushing it over there with that. But come on, let's go, folks. Let's have this race heat up even more. Let's do it. Dream Car Report over.
On board.
Yeah, all about it.
All about it. Also, all about the RS6 Avant
Oh, yes.
coming over here.
Oh, my goodness.
Holy balls.
I honestly thought, Tristan, you would be like, no, I don't even want it anymore. I thought you might be too proud for this.
Oh, no. I don't want to dare talk about it. Until I can go to a dealership and test drive one, it's not real.
Lest it
Yeah, because it has before.
right.
really.
2016, they were definitely coming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, now we've just totally.
Now
I was going to talk about it.
Sorry, Tristan.
Yeah.
Whoops.
When you look up RS6 Avant, all the news stories are from 2016 saying they're definitely coming this year. And then, nope.
Would you make that okay? I mean, you've talked about the G70, but would that immediately jump it? Oh, and was it like 3 times the cost?
Well, I was to say, it would jump it if I had the money. I don't think that's a realistic thing until we start talking potentially achievable dream cars kind of deal, like where it's not an exotic, but
Yeah.
it's still a real big stretch.
What do they retail for?
I don't even know.
Is it triple? Are we talking 6 figures
No, I don't think so.
for the RS6? Because isn't the RS7? Oh no, it can't be. It can't be because the R8 starts at what, 90? Something like that.
Let's see. So 93 is what they're talking about.
Yep.
Right now.
That's a bit.
Yeah. It's not 6 figures, but not by much.
Well, I mean, if you add
You did
Any
ask if it was
options.
6 figures, so no.
Yeah.
if you add
base,
one thing,
I've added a moonroof. $110,000.
you're done. Yeah,
Yep.
you're done.
Yeah. So, no, would I love one? Absolutely. 100%. Has it always been above, a G70 in Desire? Duh.
Clearly,
It is literally the best car for me.
it is.
It's the only car for you.
But I think,
So we'll bring it back. Hashtag fun Tristan's Audi.
Yep. Back from early season 1.
Early season 1. Hashtag fun Tristan's Audi.
Actually, while you're shopping those, why don't you pop across the aisle to the Audi brand partner and go find yourself a nice little Lamborghini that's certified pre-owned.
Can I get one for $93,000?
Maybe. What if you could?
Depending on how old it is.
In all honesty, Lamborghini is opening their first ever certified pre-owned dealership, which seems like a really dumb idea to me. But
Not if they're certified,
I mean,
Warranty. Yes.
I guess what I thought was that this already existed, because when you go to a lot of these super hypercar manufacturer websites, they'll have hidden away, tucked in a dark corner, like pre-owned.
Yes.
Or-
not certified, however.
God. Well, I'm trying to remember. Aston Martin's old website, before they were an independent company, used to have a special term for it, pre-something. But it was just
Pre-driven?
no, it was.
Pre-loved. That's the Subaru one.
Yeah,
Pre-loved.
some shit like that. But I guess I assumed that this already was a thing until they put out the press release saying that this
it
was
is
the
not.
first ever one.
They would sell you a used one, but it came with no guarantees and many limits on their warranty.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's all the certification is. It's just warranties on stuff.
I gotcha. What
Yeah.
is a warranty on a Lamborghini?
Buy at your own risk.
1 year, 9 miles.
Like a standard lease, maybe 10,000 miles a year, so 30,000, 3 year, 30,000 miles.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Or about 27 minutes, whatever comes first at those speeds.
That is. I had totally forgotten that they would sell you one, but they just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So wait, when you sell your Lamborghini, I mean, do you get a cut, or is it just like?
No, you don't sell on consignment.
Well, I mean,
so they get those back from leases.
oh, okay. So are these like the supercar, drive your dream car places? Then take them back, or
Yeah, or I mean, honestly, a lot of
people who lease.
A lot of people buy them on lease
sure.
and then turn them back in. So
I always in my head imagine people who drive those cars just bringing a giant bag of cash. That's how I want that transaction to
that's so
happen.
gauche. Wire transfer,
Yeah, come on.
please.
Oh, they pay for it in full right there, but it's not.
Cashier's check.
They're not bothering carrying a dirty burlap cash bag.
Touch money.
Gold bullion.
that.
Gold bullion, and it's delivered by their manservant. Let's face it.
It's withdrawn from their account in Luxembourg.
Yeah, Cayman Islands and Switzerland, all three.
This is, that's how I picture that going. Clearly, I mean, most people have to be leasing them, right?
Yeah.
No
Because then you don't actually own them, and it's not your problem.
I was gonna say, no one's buying these cars, right?
I don't know. I'd be curious to find out, though.
If you own a Lamborghini,
But that's definitely where they're coming from. It's usually the only way they can keep them certified is if they come off lease.
Gotcha.
For a lot of cars.
Right.
So
we'll have to go down to International and ask them.
Scope it out. Yeah. Field trip that we can report on.
Do they sell those there?
I don't think
Lamborghinis
so.
and like
Probably
the real
used.
exotics?
no.
No.
I'll have to go to Chicago,
Yeah.
probably.
All right. We're running short on time, so we're going to wrap this up. As we always do, or we do most of the time, let's go around and shout out some thank yous. Who's up?
I'll go first. We're getting into the season of racing.
Yes.
We're going to our first event this weekend.
We're going to our second event next weekend.
I'm feeling
second
it
up.
William.
again.
Hey, William, bud, we're coming to your neck of the woods next
Yeah,
weekend,
that's right,
upstate
that's
New
right,
York.
that's
We
right.
will be in Watkins Glen if you're going to come
Yeah.
see us.
Yeah, come say hi.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling ready. So, I mean, thanks to the culture, man. Let's do this. Let's get back into the swing of things for real.
We arise from our hibernation and off to racing we go.
That's right.
I'm ready.
Starts tomorrow.
I know you're so excited.
Well, actually,
ready
it
to
started
go
in
now.
February with Daytona and then May with Indianapolis. But yeah.
still.
Yeah.
I would like to make a much more official thank you. Speaking of our race on Sunday, at the consideration of PJ Campbell's at the Depot, purveyors of excellent German food and provider of courtesy tickets to the Check Engine podcast for the race on Sunday. Of
course.
They have been actually for a while. Excellent friends of the podcast, excellent food located in Plymouth, minutes from the track. So shout out to PJ Campbell's, excellent food. If you go there after a race, you're gonna see race car drivers and team members, and like, people always talk about was it Simpkins at the hotel in town. Sure, people are there, but it's such a paparazzi atmosphere where it's like everyone goes there to see them. If you go to PJ Campbell's,
It's so passé.
they're all eating there, and you can sit down at the bar next to people from Racer Magazine, like I did.
Nice.
So it's an excellent place. Thank you for the tickets. Shout out to PJ Campbell's.
Awesome. I would like to thank the person who designed the badge that I saw on the back of the car that I was following going to work this morning. This badge was the yellow crest with an animal perched up on its hind legs, much like Ferrari.
Yes.
However,
Was a moose?
it was a moose,
Ah.
and it said Volvo.
Yep. There you go. I have seen that.
It made my day at 7:10 a.m.
It is really good.
It's an awesome decal.
extra good.
So whoever designed that decal, fantastic idea. Thank you for that.
It is great.
And as always, thank you to everybody for tuning in. Even if we suck, you guys are awesome, and we appreciate you listening. But like we say all the time, we don't just want you to listen. We want to interact with you. So we have social media pages. We have a Facebook page that is Check Engine Podcast. We have a Twitter page that is...
At Check Engine Pod.
And we also have an Instagram page that is...
At Check Engine Pod.
I froze up there. I got really scared.
Check it out. So please, again, reach out. Let us know what you like, what you don't, what kind of ideas you have for us, what do you want to hear us talk about. If you're really, really, really into what we're doing, we also have support pages. We have one right on anchor.fm. You can just click support right there on the top of the screen, or we also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/checkenginepodcast. Anything that goes in there comes out as better equipment, possibly swag, whatever it is, more cool stuff for you. We're not pocketing any of it. So thank you in advance for that. 2 other things that all podcasts need. 1, reviews. 2, subscribers. We haven't asked for the subscribers before because we've been stupid.
We've been stupid.
So not only would we like you to come take 5 seconds and give us a good review, but take an extra second and just click that subscribe button wherever you listen. Or if you're listening anyway, all that's really going to happen is you're going to get notified when we launch something.
You're going to get the episodes automatically downloaded to your phone, which you're going to do anyway.
Yeah, you want
Let's
that.
face it.
You need it.
So, and also, again, much like reviews, subscriptions raise the perceived value of a podcast in searches and makes us easier to find. So, if you want more people to hear about us, if you really like us, if you hit subscribe and give us a good review, you're going to help us do that, whether you know it or not.
And guys, that's free.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Doesn't cost you anything. So, thanks for tuning in. We will talk to you next from upstate New York somewhere, probably,
Yes,
with some
indeed.
content.
Well, you'll see us, before this episode gets released at Road America in 2 days.
In 2 days, yeah. If you're watching on TV, we'll be the ones in the hats.
Yep, definitely hats.
So,
All the large hats.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
keep your eyes peeled. And yeah, if you see the logo up at the track this weekend, stop and say hello, introduce yourselves.
Definitely.
We love talking shop with people. If we don't see you there...
I've gotten used to talking shop with people. Nick loves talking shop.
I love talking shop with people. If we don't see you at Road America or Watkins Glen, we still can't wait to talk to you again. So until next time, take care.